Welcome to the Great Divide Casino and Resort. This place has everything you'd expect from a top-tier global vacation destination. Fantastic nature and scenery, rides and attractions, an 18-hole golf course, a cliffside zoo, and, of course, empty parking lots. Time is running out and the owners have decided on going all in to save the resort from impending bankruptcy. The plan, proposed by visionary entrepreneur Sully, cannot be described as anything but epic. Together, they will build the world's grandest water slide. Hello guys, how do you like that cliffhanger intro? Pun intended, hahaha. So, in today's video, I will be building a large water slide down in the canyon, basically the Grand Canyon, on my Great Divide map, the Great Divide Casino Resorts. I have to say a huge, massive thank you to Sully, who made this pack and let me play around with it, and testing it before it was released. A lot of the things, if you find like something that's weird, this might have been fixed. This is basically me beta testing it, so keep that in mind. If anything acts weird, this is such a great pack. It's a water park pack, so it has water slides and lazy river networks, and also like a lot of pool stuff and a lot of stuff around it. Yeah, it's like I can think of so many other uses for the pack. Like for anybody playing modded City Skylines, I'd say this is I don't often say must-haves, but this is kind of a must-have. Also, I wasn't paid to say that, just FYI. So yeah, I'm building a massive water slide. Possibly like, I don't know if this is the longest, still like relatively realistic-ish. No, it's not realistic. This is completely bonkers, of course, but it's definitely the longest I have ever seen attempted in any video game, or like the most grandest in any scale. There's probably some in like park building games that are more extreme though, but still. Excuse me if there's an overly clickbait title for this video. And you can see I've already dragged out the first sort of networks all the way down to the bottom, and now I'm placing the sort of the bottom station. I haven't really talked about how the pack works. The pack works by having like, it's a train basically, or the slides are trains. So you create a starting station and an ending station, and the pool here is the ending station. You can see I tried to place it on uneven terrain, and yeah, I push a lot of the things to its limits here, and by doing so, I kind of break it in many ways. Don't judge the pack based on how I play with it. But yeah, that's how it works anyway. You have a starting station, which is a tower at the top, at the very top, underneath the Colossus, and you have an ending station, which is the pool, and then you have a specific invisible network that you can sort of drag back to the starting station from the pool, and that's how you create a train loop basically, and then you switch out the trains for passengers, or like for people sliding down. Like the people sliding down are actually trains, which is hilarious and also genius. It's ingenious, this pack. Yeah. And I might have had some plans to play around with the lazy river network in the same video, but this slide was kind of a handful to build. So I mean, it's a very, very big water slide. So I mean, excuse me for that. But also, I kind of I proved to be very bad at building lazy rivers. So and I've had this idea for like a few weeks already. Like, I want to try something like this. I want to make something extremely bonkers, and yeah. And this is just me going ahead and doing that. So you can see I'm using a lot of mods. I'm using network multi-tool to create like loops and stuff like that. I'm trying to use node controller to flatten some of the nodes and create a better sort of slope into the transitions. But I would not recommend doing it the way I do. Like the way I do it in the video is I'm bending the nodes. I'm using node controller to create a bend node. But that doesn't work super great because the riders will follow, like it's gonna create, people will be jumping through the network a bit more and sort of flying up above it. There's a much better way using network multi-tool to fix the sort of make the nodes smoother, and that is actually to go in and use the slope feature and then just set it to a value. Select a node and then slope it to some percentage. Like you can just try like 2% or is it percent or degrees? I think it's percent. And then just use that value for slope and see what works best at the node. So this is also an issue that you don't really have to worry about it if you're making a realistic water slide, because a realistic water slide is maybe only a few units long, or like very short in comparison. I cannot stress enough, I'm really taking this to the extremes and kind of breaking it apart. And I'm really happy because it lets me break it. It lets me break it apart. Like there's solutions for every single thing that sort of I struggle with. I guess from the way I play the game, that's really nice, because that means like you can just play around and really customize and do crazy stuff like this. So yeah, I'm super happy again, and thanks so much again, Sully, for letting me do this. Let me break this pack apart, I guess. And you can see I'm still struggling with the the bending of the nodes, and it's not the best practice. It's not how I end up doing it eventually. So I've also added a second slide, like 2 slides, parallel slides, like dueling slides even, if you will. And that was super easy using the parallel network tool in a network multi-tool. I recommend using that. It's nice. I did go ahead and change it a bit so that I get a bit more spacing, because if I place them too close to each other, they won't automatically spawn the sort of supports. So I just placed them a little bit further apart. And yeah, I do go ahead and add a lot of turns eventually to the middle segment, just to make it a more interesting slide instead of just going straight down, and probably at extreme speeds. Like this slide as it is right now is probably like bonkers quick. I don't know how you would, or if you could do a slide like this safe in reality. It would be pretty cool. I don't know if I'd dare try it. Yeah, here I'm doing that invisible network that goes back to the starting station. I make sure to connect it perfectly straight at the pool, as I've been instructed by Sully. And I'm using the same network for both slides, basically, because they act as train networks and they should be able to connect as train networks. I didn't know this at the time, I just assumed and tested, so there's a lot of me just testing and breaking stuff here. And here I'm actually trying to get the line to work, and I don't get it to work, and I panic for a second. I think like, oh no, did I mess up the node somehow by all that node controllering? Did I make it just a too long water slide? And I kind of panic a little bit, but I realize there's a pretty cool way you can test pathfinding for train lines, and I suppose also water slides. It's by upgrading short segments with like a station track. In this case, it's the what are they called? The station segments. I'll do that in a little bit, and maybe you'll see on screen what it's called. Yeah, here we're upgrading like certain segments, and then I'm seeing like, can I create a path between these and other stations? And not yet, which means that the problem or a problem is somewhere in between. And here you can see, yeah, I can connect these guys, so that's not a problem. In my experience, the biggest source of like broken pathfinding for these slides is the connection to the pool station in the bottom. The pool station is a little bit hard for me, at least, to place, because I like to place stuff and then move it around with Move It a lot, and moving the pool station around with Move It sometimes breaks some of the paths. It's a very standard City Skylines like behavior of many types of buildings with built-in networks. So it's not a flaw in the pack in any way. It's just how things are sometimes. The way I fix it is, I fix it in many different ways, but the way I finally fix it is I just replace the station at the bottom, like delete all, make sure I don't have any ghost nodes and weird stuff like that could be overlapping, and just replace the pool at the bottom. You can replace it by using Move It and just deleting everything and then undoing it, which will place it back. Just keep in mind that you might get some sort of ghost segments and nodes doing so. So you try to keep it as clean as possible, because if you have like a ghost station track overlapping the built-in, the actual station track, you might that might cause some issues. Yeah. So this segment here is like basically just a lot of troubleshooting for me, and I thought about maybe I should cut this out and make it a bit more enjoyable watching this part, but this is really useful. Like, this is really useful help. Like, I don't know, I guess it's good that you guys get to see me struggle. I mean, you do get to see that from time to time, but yeah, a lot of the time it is a struggle. You sometimes need to figure out some stuff, and this was one of those occasions. And it also is very good for the pack to sort of know that, what if, what can I do if this happens? You can do this. You can use these station, upgrading to station tracks and see if it changes anything. Another very sort of, I can't really put my finger quite on it, what is, why this works, but yeah, here I'm just testing. Okay. What happens if I just place a new track somewhere? I think I might have messed up in some cases when dragging out some of these networks. I might have dragged some networks from the bottom to the top and then upgraded the direction, and I'm not sure if that 100% works all the time. Like, it's a little bit superstition I have now, but I feel like if you are very much consistent and dragging everything the same direction, and like not using and being very careful in which direction you use network multitool, because you definitely have a main direction when dragging out stuff in network multitool as well. If you're consistent with that, like always go from bottom to top, or like the direction of a slide, then you shouldn't have an issue. Oh yeah, I also discovered it was disconnected. Yeah, that was actually that was the because, I think, in this case. I think that was the main issue. Yeah. Oh my god, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, the disconnected node as well. Turn on your snapping, guys, when you're doing stuff. I've seen that happen so many times. I've heard so many complaints, and then I also do it sometimes myself and just pull my hair and scream at the screen and why is it not connecting? And then, oh yeah, I am the because. Yeah, so we'll soon start seeing our first riders down the slide, I think. Yeah. I think I'm still using the... No, now I'm actually... No, I'm using the corner offset thing. Yeah, don't do like I'm doing here. It looks very smooth. I'm using the corner offset and bend node type. But the problem with that is it, yeah, the riders will clip through the node. The node is much bigger. Like visually, the node for the slide looks good, but the riders won't understand how to use it. Like they will go from one end to another, and that's, yeah, but it's a bit of a shame when there's better ways to do it. Just using that slider or that sort of the number field that says slope for the node and setting that is much better. I did also discover while making the POV ride view for this, which is some of the best, honestly, it's some of the best video footage I've probably ever done for this game, so stay tuned for that, or hop forward if you can't wait for that part. But I did discover then that having a shorter distance between nodes is pretty good for, especially for like if you're grabbing cinematic footage with first-person camera mod. That way it usually doesn't sort of clip through the networks as much when you're going down the slide, and you can get some really cool cinematics. I also enabled the, I think it's the follow, or no, it's the look ahead feature in that mod, and that was really useful as well. Yeah, here I'm playing around and upgrading some of the track parts to banked segments. I'm also discovering why the bend nodes aren't the best, because the bend nodes don't always like they don't always like the banked segments so much. I'm playing around with just making the node very small, but then I realized no, that's going to cause other issues. Yeah, use the slope value. Just click on the node and then set a slope if it needs to be. Like, it's only in these very steep parts where I feel like these very steep and long parts where you need to set the node, really, the node slope, and usually it works perfectly fine by itself. So yeah, you can see how the node sort of flattens sometimes when it's very steep, and that's what the slope, the node controller slope thing fixes. You can also make them wider and I guess tilt and do a lot of weird stuff in node controller, which is really cool, and I recommend you to play around with it. Like, it's not a required mod in any way. You can make beautiful slides and have them work without it. It just really makes it easier to make such a massive game-breaking almost slide to be able to slope the nodes. Yeah, and while I was testing this, Sully also made a IMT preset and also assets for it, an IMT preset of animated water that you can just sort of apply to the slide, which is so cool because that makes it look like there's water running down. Like that wasn't, I think that wasn't a part of the initial plan, but such a great addition. I will show it in the ride view as well, but it's not, I don't show applying it, I think, in the video, but it's just basically a normal IMT preset. So you would open IMT, select the node, and then go to the possible fit or the close fit tab and just apply preset. Yeah, so I've been thinking a little bit, I mean, the backstory of this resort is kind of hodgepodge, just made up for the reason of putting a kind of ridiculous slide down the Grand Canyon, but I've also like come up with some pretty fun like naming ideas for it. Like, I don't know, what would this slide be called? I was thinking maybe it could be called like Splash Vegas. It's kind of a resort in the desert. It's near Las Vegas in real life. It could be called Mount Splashmore. That would be kind of funny. Does it matter what we name it? Absolutely not. It's just like, I don't know, I've been becoming more and more into this sort of idea of lore and world building, I think, from making Mio, my City Skylines sort of series right now, I suppose. Which I'm super happy and excited to get back to once I'm finished editing and this video. There will probably be an episode of Mio before this one, but still, like, that's the sort of timing where I'm at right now. Yeah, I really love the views when you're going down the slide. It was something I was kind of concerned about. What if you're going down the slide and you just see sort of the slide and you just see sort of the near cliff faces, because it's such a massive ravine, but I really wanted to be like, wanted to feel like really scenic when you're going down it. So you're really feeling that you are going into the Grand Canyon. Here is the segment where I add a lot more curves. And I mean, I do go ahead and edit a bunch of this later, like fix it up. And and add the sort of animated water IMT stuff, and like, there's a lot of that stuff, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when you're making videos, it's really hard to to show everything. I don't know. I get once I turn off the recording, I get easily carried away. I do think that this video definitely shows everything I want to show, and I get to talk about everything sort of I felt and thought about while building this. So I think it, if I'd show the full process for something that like this, it might be another 30 minutes probably, a time-lapse footage, which is it's a little bit too long for what this is, I think. Like, especially me just sort of the troubleshooting parts. I can only talk about that for so long. Since I've tested this out quite a lot now, I've become like kind of, I don't want to say good at it, but I've definitely learned more about the slides and also more about how to work the game and sort of test if you have train issues and stuff like that. Like, if you're having issues with like doing custom train stuff in City Skylines, like drop a comment or something like that, and maybe even join the Discord. Like, I could probably help. Like, by now I'm pretty confident. I know a lot of fixes and ways to fix stuff. So like just one of those unintended side effects of having the pack be essentially based on the rail mechanics is that I learned more about rails. I can now help building custom train stations, which is something that it always feels relatively easy. Like, it feels much easier than it is to build custom train stuff in the game, but in practice it's kind of tricky. There's a lot of things that sort of can cause weird issues. So yeah, absolutely, let me know if you have issues with train stuff and want help, and I'll see what I can do. So, or any of the other like, there's a lot of like genius custom train station builders in the Discord that could probably also help. But I am really happy about the design, by the way. Like, the sort of they're basically following the same path, but they're doing like different curves and sort of different geometries and different shapes. Like, it looks really cool. It looks like, a dueling water slide kind of a thing. I guess that would be what it is. Like, in real life, this would be a sort of dueling water slide, and I don't know if they're synced. I haven't really tested that out. It's kind of hard to test it. Not really, but you could just measure, I suppose. You could just sort of time it so that you have one rider on each track at the same time, and see like how much they change, but it's very hard to align them so that they start at the same time. That's not something I've been able to do. Could be done with, I wonder if it could be done with like timed traffic lights. I'm just getting ideas. I haven't tried it. I don't even know if you can do timed traffic lights here, and it's trains, so I don't think you should be able to do it. But I mean, like, let me know, guys, if you figure out some even more weird ways to break this pack and use it to do cool things. So I'm all for it, absolutely. And I don't know if I talked about it yet, but there's more than banked segments. There's also the tube segments, and I'm using them sometimes as transitions and sometimes just like as a bit of extra flair to the track and make it look, I guess, more interesting. And in some places I use it just for safety, like to make it more safe, so that you couldn't possibly fall out maybe in some of the steepest, highest speed parts. With that said, this is absolutely not safe. It's just not safe. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's safe. It doesn't feel very safe, but maybe the track could be made in a similar way and be relatively safe, but like the whole premise of it, like going down the Grand Canyon, if something happens, what is your what happens if you if you fall out midway or something? What happens if are you supposed to like send hikers down, or like do you need a helicopter for that? Or there's a lot of questions about the sanity of this project, but I don't know if any of you guys are more into the park building games and know more about this stuff than I do. Let me know, absolutely. I'd love to hear like what is most extreme and safest. What is the limits of water slides in real life? What can you do and what can't you do? And here I'm using one of other, very quickly just placing. It's a water spawner that is included in the pack, but also creates there's a water spawner and a water sucker. I don't know, water pump. Yeah. So it sort of levels the water in the pool. Like, it's such a cool pack. Like, it basically lets you make all these pools. It lets you make lazy rivers and the slides, and to some extent even combine them together. Oh, it's so cool. And now you can start seeing the riders. And for a second there, when you actually saw the train spawning, it was kind of funny in the pool. You have to set the vehicles on the lines, or sort of forbid trains from spawning. The way I did it, I think in the end, is I just forbade all trains, normal trains, from spawning, and just allowed the riders, and then put the line to random, so that you have like a random selection of the different riders. But if you don't have, if you have normal trains on your map, you might want to use like different lines with the different riders, rider styles, and sort of just do it that way. But yeah, this time lapse is coming to an end. I am really, really, really excited for the first-person ride view, guys. If you liked this video, like and subscribe, and all that stuff. Get the pack. Get the pack if it's on the workshop. Just wait and get it if it's not yet. And I will see you guys next time. Before opening the slide, we do need to add a medical helicopter depot, or at least the safety nerds have advised me to do so.